last week ICE officers killed Alex Pretty, and this one is pretty damn hard to justify. With the Renee Good thing, you could make the argument that the vehicle was a weapon. She hit the guy, he shot her. So there was kind of ICE could kind of make a case, okay? And this one, ICE doesn't really have a leg to stand on, okay? You got the guy down on the ground. He had a gun. The gun was secured, and then you shot him. It's pretty damn bad, okay? And at this point, I think with everything that's gone on, in order to de-escalate the situation, ICE just needs to leave, okay? I've supported ICE. I support getting rid of the illegal immigrants, but this is supposed to be for the security of America and its people. Deporting the illegal immigrants is supposed to help secure the country and make things better. Clearly, what's gone on in Minneapolis, things are getting out of control, and it's not helping anybody. And for the ICE officers, you are losing in the court of public opinion. People are starting to, not that there already wasn't a divide, but now you're starting to get people like me and other people on the right, especially Second Amendment advocates, turning against you. So what needs to happen? ICE needs to leave. The federal government needs to regroup, because by all means, the federal government has the authority to impose restrictions on immigration. That's given to the Congress through the Naturalization Clause, the Foreign Commerce Clause, all of these within Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. You have the Supremacy Clause giving the federal government the authority where they're superior to the state's rulings on things granted to them. So they're in the right. They need to leave. They need to regroup. And I'm not – Tim Walz and Jacob Frey are just as much to blame for the escalation, just as much as ICE is. So I'm not saying that I support Tim Walz or Jacob Frey. What I'm saying is Trump should pull ICE and the feds out of Minnesota, kind of regroup, tell Tim Walz, tell Jacob Frey, you need to cooperate with my agents and work with us to get the illegal immigrants out of your state and out of your city. It doesn't make you look weak. It makes you look reasonable, because any reasonable person can see what's going on in Minneapolis, and you can see that this has gotten out of control. But then you have Kristi Noem coming out and saying this guy, Alex Pretty, was a terrorist because he had a loaded handgun. He had a loaded handgun at a protest. What's wrong with that? Okay, I agree that the protests up there they border illegal activity. Okay, like they don't need to be following these officers around. They don't need to be impeding the operations. But if you're at a protest, to come out and say these people can't come to a protest with a handgun and a loaded handgun, if you carry a gun, I assume you're carrying it loaded. I know when I carry with my gun loaded. And then they said, well, he had 2 magazines with dozens of rounds. Yeah, typically most people that carry, we also carry a secondary magazine. Okay, and to say that it had dozens of rounds, most handguns have magazines that hold over a dozen rounds, 15, 16 rounds. They don't hold that. That's not a big deal. And Kash Patel, who, while he's, obviously not exposing the Epstein list and not suing people for being critical of him and his little country star girlfriend, he's taking time to go on Fox News and double down and say, no guns at the protest. Here's Kash Patel.
What is your advice to the people right now who are outraged that this is a second killing at the hands of Border Patrol in 2 weeks?
As Kristi said, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law. And
which law exactly is it that we're breaking by bringing a gun to a protest? What if it's a Second Amendment protest and we bring a rifle, we bring our ARs, we bring our AKs. Which law are we breaking when we bring those guns to protest? So things are getting out of control, and our federal government and its authorities are telling us that we don't have the right to protest, we don't have the right to have weapons or exercise our Second Amendment. It's just out of control. They need to back up. That would be my advice to Donald Trump. I would say, look, pull them all out, show that you're reasonable, make your demands clear, and then when they fail to, cooperate, then you can justify maybe further action in the future. But pull out, go to your red states where the government will cooperate. Go there, get rid of the illegal immigrants there, and then go back. This is it. It's almost, if you want to be conspiratorial, you can look at I forget the kid's name, the guy that did the whole expose on the Somalian daycares and everything. This all happened right before this huge operation and push into Minneapolis. And it almost seems, I don't want to say it's orchestrated, but it's like we almost saw that this was going to happen. That's why one of the first videos I made talking about Renee Good, I was saying, hey, look, protesters up there in Minneapolis, you all need to be careful because you all are on a delicate line, because a lot of times I think the feds want to escalate. They want to justify bringing out the troops. And you see people saying, oh, yeah, we want Donald Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act and bring in the military. You don't want that, okay? You don't want that. I'm telling you right now, if I was a libertarian or a conservative that lived in Minneapolis, I would be looking at the protesters and thinking the same thing I think here. I'd be saying, gosh, you guys are out there. You're being a little out of control. Just let the ICE agents do what they need to do. I'm trying to sympathize with the conservative and the right-wing people that are up there in Minneapolis, because if all of a sudden Trump invokes the Insurrection Act and you have the military brought in, what does that look like?
Guns will be taken. No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
Potentially, they're going to be cordon off sections of the city, going door to door, and maybe trying to disarm people that you would think you're allied with, like your fellow conservatives that are up there in Minneapolis. You want you want martial law up there. You want them to go around and potentially be disarming those citizens, and people think that's absurd. It's not absurd. That's a very real situation, and we should hope that it doesn't escalate any further. So this is it. ICE needs to leave Minneapolis, get out of Minnesota. It does not make you weak. It makes you reasonable. And anybody that really cares about our country should be able to look at all the stuff going on, our economic situation, and it's just things are not going well. And when we're justifying all of, the militarization of the police and everything else, it doesn't look like a future that I want for any of us. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment.